Data engineering can help all of these members in and around the healthcare space to actually harness the real power of what we can do with the data. So basically the value add on top of the data, like predictive analytics, that's one.
We've been hearing this term like data is the new oil.
Yeah.
So like how we process oil and get the petrol or the diesel or the residues. The same way, I think there's a whole method to the madness of how do we extract insights from vast amount of data. And it's not only that you have, again, data is everything. Today we have structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, and then making sense out of these data and all these models learning about something from this data is, it's a very vast topic. So why not we get started about like talking about how this data engineering process is important, what does it involve in general, and then we go into the healthcare space as to how people use this.
Yeah, so data engineering on its whole is basically about getting the whatever information is possible. If you're talking about in, like you said, in healthcare, right? It's similar to when a doctor or a healthcare provider would diagnose you. They would ask you questions, right? And they already have a certain amount of knowledge as to what to ask, right? But adding data engineering into the mix is just about digitizing and using that data in the future for the right reasons, like research, faster diagnosis, access to a panel of different experts quickly, and sort of a community-led opinion about certain things on healthcare, where it's not just because it's, of course, again, one of the most sensitive industries we have around. And I think in this case, more opinions, more minds always do matter. You hear about people going for second opinions, third opinions to multiple different doctors, right? And can you imagine without the access to data, they would not, doctors also would be asking the same questions again. Researchers would have to go on very, very lengthy studies, surveys, take huge grants for actually, getting access to this data. But data engineering can help all of these members in and around the healthcare space to actually harness the real power of what we can do with the data. So basically the value add on top of the data, like predictive analytics, that's one. Then prescriptive analytics, which is, of course, in the healthcare space, very important. And then things like study of healthcare data to improve things like drug production, drug discovery on the pharma side as well. So I think the potential is immense. It is happening a lot around the world as we speak. And with progress in storage and processing technology today, it can happen a lot cheaper in a lot more parts of the world.
Got it. Now, let's say, where does it all start? So somewhere when you say you want to collect data, you want to process this data, and then the AI comes in. But let's say, where does this start? Where does the content come from, or where does this data come from? So is it like a patient comes to the hospital, today everything is digitized, right? Right from their registration, even the booking of the doctor, right? Today there are a lot of softwares that talk about booking and the doctor's schedule management and all that. Even your prescriptions are now digitized for them to see the whole case history. You don't have to carry all your historical medical records. We have this EMRs, electronic medical records today, that are stored, and lab results and vitals. Everything today, when we enter as a patient to a hospital, till discharge and post-discharge, even the insurance that is covered, usually because this is a health tech and insure tech, very much health insurance is something which is the reason for also digitizing, is also because you would want to produce and give these documents to the insurance so that you can claim and things like that. Most of the healthcare prices have gone really high up. It's very difficult for individuals to pay by themselves. They need to have an insurance. Right? And how do you make them accountable? How do you reduce frauds in these areas when so much things are there? And then everything is compliance driven. Everything is heavily compliance driven. So let's, I'll put this question to you: where do we, start collecting this data, and how, behind the scenes this data is getting collected for each of these problem states?
So I think, like you mentioned, if you look at all of these data sources, one of the data sources is your patient data, right? Your patient data would be all of the data that the hospital knows about, right? Then other than that is your all of your medical records and all of your vitals that you go for medical testing, right? So that your medical test provider would know. And another sleeper data insight that we have today with the increase in things like wearables, right, is your lifestyle data, right?
Yeah.
So all of these data together, I think it can paint a good picture about the medical status of an individual, right? I would say that, because each of these are taken, the data is recorded at a different point of time, and using traditional methods where you go to the hospital and they check your blood pressure and they check a couple of metrics, right, in whatever 5 minutes or 10 minutes the doctor has, because today we don't have enough doctors also, so we can't, if we put all of the burden on the doctors today to create the data, that's not going to improve the situation at all, right? So that's why these multiple data sources come together. And of course, with the huge improvement over the last 10-12 years on cloud storage and computing, we can store the data in cold stores and all of these spaces for easy access, right? So with all of these data sources plus access to data warehousing and proper compute, I think we do have a good system that's building up on the healthcare side. Like you mentioned, where should we start? There are different owners for all of these, right? Of course, it's going to be a big task for all of them, to come together and create some sort of a unique ID. I think that would really help on the data engineering side, with where government, healthcare, individuals and healthcare tech providers, I would say. They're already doing it in different countries where they have like one sort of schema or one sort of template of how you store healthcare data. And what this really would bring about is good data governance on the healthcare side. So data governance, of course, it's very sensitive data, right? Good data governance would help us improve the quality of the data and help us, any downstream processing of the data will, of course, add much more value than if you don't, have good data governance. So data governance, along with, these multiple sources being stored in new age storage and warehousing technology, would really be the real start.